Here we go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, we're a day closer. You guys ready to talk it up today? A lot of thunder angling going on over the course of the afternoon. I cannot wait for you to ease back and enjoy all the conversation. See, it's funny. I know it wears out a lot of people. Hey, I just want to get to the game, and I'm worn out. Not me. I savor the flavor, baby, is what I'm doing here. I savor every moment. 25 stinking years this has been. You're not going to catch me go, hey, can you hurry this up a little bit, this whole finals thing? Can you hurry it up? Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I just got to get here. Wham, wham. Nuh-uh. Every single moment. Man, the only thing that wrecks you a little bit is thinking or overthinking about the outcome. And I fall victim to that as well. I've thought about that a number of times, the outcome. My good friend Lance Smith of LD Smith Plumbing sent me a message a little bit earlier today talking about it. And you can't get past the thought that OKC is so good. And it's weird because they're really good. And as you sit here right now, you find no reason to dislike them. It's like, I don't know, you ever get on Facebook and constantly these reels pop up from Tombstone? And why Doc Holliday hated Johnny Ringo because he's just like me? My goodness, that's this series in a nutshell. Why should I not hate him, darling? You don't even know him. Well, I think I hate him because he's just like me. OKC, the market. Indianapolis, the market. The NBA landscape. No luxury tax forthcoming. No doubt about it, but no luxury tax. Just a grassroots effort of construction and building something really to play out the same. And let's just face it, the Pacer defense is not to the level in which OKC's is right now. But it has gotten progressively better over the past 2 years. You got Paul George, so significant in helping build what is here. Just savvy deals in general on both sides when you think about it. Just think about, I know I heard Eddie and Jake talking about, because Eddie has a really nice article at 1075thefan.com that in full detail explains to you exactly what the Pacers did to get to where they are right now, to get these players. You know, what had to happen, who had to go. It is an amazing sort of thing, you have to admit. But you end up overthinking absolutely everything. And that's the only way, that's the only reason I think I find myself kind of falling victim to it. Otherwise, hey, it's great. I love the lead up. You know, I love it when we're out and about and hanging out with you for these things, doing extra special affairs, whatever. And just making sure the programming is there. Because I will say this, I tell you all the time, in a world in which you have just so many ridiculous options, we try to maintain your number one option here with the local presence on all three shows. And as I've mentioned, it's different now because normally they wouldn't give the Pacers the time of day. But now this thing is absolutely spotlit by everybody nationally. Everybody's got their 2 cents. I swear to you, and I need to stop, but I can't help myself nor contain myself. I did hear a couple of things that, what are these two numbnuts? Chandler Parsons and Lou Williams on that incredibly ill-informed FanDuel NBA. I have no idea how that passes, but it does. And just talking about how Indianapolis, the Pacers, it's not a destination location. All right, you're talking about two different things there, numbnuts, okay? Both numbnuts. Both of you two numbnuts. Numbnuts as a duo. The Hall & Oates of numbnuts. So these two have a half-assed discussion about how Indianapolis isn't a destination location. And I think we all know that. But if you want to play basketball and you want to be a part of something, you want to be a part of something special, and again, if you love the game on both sides, and if you want to get the opportunity, now, most of that is making sure you play your way into that chance or that opportunity. But if you want to get a chance to be a part of it, this is it. OKC is it. If you show it, you will play. It doesn't matter if you're not described as a franchise player. Your star status, be damned. Nobody cares. Do you produce? Do you fit in? Or are you a jackstick in the locker room? Or are you a horse's rear end off the floor? Do you fit? If you love basketball, there is no question this is a destination. I'm telling you, this thing is going to take over the NBA. Even if you have to battle against guys, I forget what the guy's name that sounded like he was a 10-year-old dude yesterday. I forget. Jason whatever. And then these two guys.
Jason McIntyre.
Jason McIntyre. The 10-year-old prepubescent sounding dude. So him and then two former NBA guys. Hey, Lou Williams is a good player in the NBA. Chandler Parsons wasn't worth hell, but Lou Williams was good. I think he was a sixth man of the year, but you couldn't know less about this. Yeah, sure, we know that nobody's going to say, hey, they used to do it. Remember, it was on the license plate to promote the state of Indiana back in the day. Remember what it was called? Wonder Indiana. We're going to wonder Indiana. The outgoing, incredible friend of this show, Chuck Lofton of Channel 13, did the Chuck's Big Adventures. I think they used to do at 13 one tank trips, which clearly in this era would be much more than one tank. But one tank trips is what it was called, where you're going to go around the state of Indiana to vacation, where you're going to go to get away from it all, where it's going to be really easy, right? But we all know there's no... Well, there's a beach here. I mean, there's a beach at Fairfax and Bloomington. There's one down at Boggs. There's a beach there. So there's water. Sometimes you'll find a structure next to the water. Not to say there's no mountains. I know in January, basically from November through March, the weather's not any good. But, man, the one thing we have going right around here is the love for basketball. And I love, by the way, speaking of which, that all of you are on board with it right now. Some it takes a minute because some had that preconceived notion that, hey, it's the NBA and I don't like it because your dad probably said that. Your dad's dad probably said that. You passed it on down. It's all about Indiana basketball. What we're going to do is we're going to pass and we're going to cut. We're going to move without the ball. You know, all this stuff that they used to do in college, and now basically it's high ball screen material now. Very much isolation, and your NBA team is playing the style, the brand of basketball that your father, that your grandfather talked about, and one of the real reasons why you love it. And there are some that are a little slow to it, but now you understand it. No greater team concept around than what you are witnessing right now. Some are just a little bit slower to get on board than others. But this is, to me, if you're a lover of basketball, an absolute amazing matchup. And I guess the hope is, you know, clearly if you're from here, you want to see the Pacers cash in the NBA for the first time. That'd be great. And I know people say, well, that organization won 1979, the Seattle Supersonics, but I don't know about anybody else. I don't view that as whatsoever the Seattle Supersonics. Just like in Baltimore, they didn't celebrate Super Bowl 41, and hey, the Colts won, woo! All right, even though they had another football team. So the fact that once upon a time, the Thunder, they were in Seattle, has no bearing here. This, to me, is going for their initial and their first. But the brand, the style of basketball that's going to be played, the talent that you have, think about that. You have the MVP, and you have all the way around, you have guys that are right. It's weird. Like nationally, I mentioned the dude yesterday that just wanted nothing but marquee names and the big names and the glitz and the spotlight. But sooner rather than later, that's going to be gone. These dudes can't play forever. Well, they probably can. They'll probably get paid to play. But as far as play, no. You have budding new stars that are ready to step up. You have a new, what I think is going to be sweeping the NBA style of play, brand of play, the camaraderie that, again, when the NBA was struggling to find eyeballs, this is something I think basketball fans should be able to be a part of unless you're just simply put a lover of reality TV. And then that's on your ass. But if you're a lover of basketball, this is it. So for the two former NBA toolboxes on FanDuel, yeah, of course, this is not a destination location or a vacation destination. Unless you were me back in junior high and high school when I used to vacation at the Holodome in Jasper. Now, a lot of people are saying, yeah, you know what, because it doesn't exist any longer. But I'm not going to lie to you. Jasper's Holodome was a stinking destination location for a vacation for me and a lot of others just like me. Yeah, it's not a destination location, but if you're a lover of basketball and you want a legitimate opportunity, this is absolutely it. Jake is going to be at Ale Emporium tomorrow?
Ale and Fishers.
Ale and Fishers.
Hermanaki Wings and Mick Ultra Zero.
You can jump on there really quick. Remind people one more time. There's Mel McMahon out in the hallway right there. I did catch you talking about Naked and Afraid. You know, the one thing that if I were a dude on there, like I would have to tap out if they said, hey, there's this gravel road and you need to walk across it. I'd go, oh, hell, I got to tap out. No, I can't walk across a gravel road barefoot.
You would be in trouble when after 7 days you finally got your first meal and realized you had to eat it in front of the person that you were sharing the island with, right?
Can you imagine, and I hate to put it this way, but the scrotal chafing would go on for about a 2-week period right here?
I said,
there's no way.
The number one thing that causes people to tap out is bugs.
You know what I'd say? I'd say, listen, I'll sign off on this and do it as long as you give me a big blur in that spot. Because I don't have any drawers on, in that spot, and the full frontal that's going on, don't give me a tiny blur. Give me a big blur. That's the only thing that I would require right there.
I did see one dude, you're allowed to bring one thing from home. The smartest thing I ever saw was a guy brought a roll of duct tape, and everybody laughed at him.
Yeah.
Dude, he made clothing out of it.
Heck yeah,
he made
man.
everything out of it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow, Ale Emporium up in Fishers. Be there at 7 o'clock. And then sticking around to watch the game, Hermanaki Wings, Mick Ultra Zero, putting it all on.
Do you find it difficult to watch in a packed place like that? Because I do too.
I do too, yeah. Especially if it's tight and close and, you know what I mean? It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've
at the top of your lungs like you can in your own living room.
Yeah, and it's been a long time since I've had felt like nerves and emotion for a team or a game.
Sure.
I feel it for this. So
this is it.
Cool.
People are recognizing too, man. People are recognizing that this is legit. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I'm one that wants to soak up absolutely everything, so the time in between's not problematic for me. Now, if they don't play well, that's problematic. But if they play well, and this is as fun as we think it's going to be, man, I'm going to soak every ounce of it up.
And it seems like tomorrow night's the perfect night. But we'll see. But it'll be fun either way. So a lot to talk about between now and then.
You got that right. All right, Jake Query tomorrow at the Fishers. Is that the Geist location?
Correct. That's exactly correct.
That's going to be moving. There's ask for these, and I'm assuming they still serve them. If there's a guy behind the bar or in the kitchen named Todd, they have something called Toddanaki, and it takes the spice up a little bit on the Hermanakis.
Really?
Todd-Anaki.
All right, that'll clear the sinuses.
The Todd-Anakis are legit, buddy.
I'll check
Let me
them,
tell you
'cause
all
they're-
about that.
they got great
And we'll
pizza,
see
the
if Todd is
Hermanakis.
working. The Todd-Anakis.
All righty. We'll be there.
Go hit him straight. Jake Query tomorrow night. That's just part of what we're going to offer. We have a lot for you. I shall explain over the course of the afternoon where you can join us, not just tomorrow night with Jake, but coming up this weekend on Sunday with me. We will make our triumphant return to Tom's Watch Bar, everybody. The man who brought you the McGriddle, stuffed crust pizza, and Tom's Watch Bar downtown on Sunday prior to game number 2 in Oklahoma City. And then next week is going to be wild. I shall explain that to you coming up a little bit later on. We do have a loaded show for you. I will explain as well. I mentioned I think we're going to have both sides of the radio and TV working here. Is Matt Pinto radio or TV? Is he radio?
Matt Pinto is the radio, I believe.
The radio voice of the Thunder, Matt Pinto, is going to join us a little bit later on. James, you can give me a slight update because you reached out and he got back with you. One of my favorite players, individually speaking, from the 1980s, I was a big fan of Michael Cage. Michael Cage was most notably, former Seattle Supersonic. Spent some time, too, if memory serves, with the Clippers. But he was a rebounding wizard back in the day for a number of seasons. Michael Cage is their color analyst.
Yes, he is. He is hopefully going to be joining us at 5. I am still waiting for exact confirmation on how we're getting in contact with him.
Michael Cage.
Hopefully at 5 o'clock today.
Were you aware of his badassery back in the day?
I am not, no.
He was a bad dude, Michael Cage was. He was a bad man. So we'll work in Michael Cage coming up a little bit later on. Who else we got on this show today, by the way?
We got Jason Logan from Covers.com at 3:30.
Gotcha. 3:30, Jason Logan's going to join us, too. We normally have Kevin Bowen on. We'll slide Kevin Bowen coming up tomorrow.
And Kevin Pelton at 4:30.
You got it from ESPN, ESPN.com. That's in large part where you're getting a lot of, I don't want to say negativity, but a little bit of the, well, I don't know about this because there's no star power, even though you have the MVP on one side, which is absolutely incredible. Kevin Pelton is going to join us from ESPN coming up a little bit later on. Meantime, your thoughts on everything at 239-1070. The Fever, in case you missed this last night, got back on the winning track. Things have not been kind since the Caitlin Clark injury. And we'll find out after a reevaluation where she is going to be moving forward here. But 85-76, the Fever over the Mystics. Kelsey Mitchell had 24 for the Fever. Our player, Lexi Hulls, shot it nicely last night as well. And I think one of the things that stood out to me is explosive quarters. And you get used to that. That's commonplace when Caitlin Clark is a part of a Fever team. Explosive quarters. Now, granted, you had 3 that didn't break 20, but you had one explosive quarter that was 31 points, and really that turned out to be most of the difference right there in the third quarter for the Fever. So they were back to at least having one explosive quarter, and honestly, an offense, both sides of the basketball, but in particular an offense that had looked incredibly discombobulated, and rightly so, without its leader, Caitlin Clark. But the Fever get a win, 85-76. Discussion on that and more in the NBA Finals. Game 1's coming up tomorrow night, 8:30 your tip time, 8 o'clock your coverage begins here on The Fan. I will tell you this, we are ironing out the details. I think I'm going to go from like 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock tomorrow night, I believe, which is just a couple hours shorter than what I did on Friday night, going from 3 o'clock to midnight between this station and B105.7. But we got to take advantage of this time of year, and after 25 years, the Pacers being back in the NBA Finals, and we shall do that. And I'll hear from everybody tomorrow. Everybody from the morning show. Jake, I'm assuming from the Fisher's location, the Ale Emporium, and a lot of the other conversations we have had, including ours with Chad Buchanan a couple of days ago, feeling really good about this team. And why not? Now, that's coming up tomorrow. Meantime, today, 239-1070 is the number. The email address is JMV at 1075thefan.com. AAA.com inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. Sign up, become a AAA member today, and make sure you get yourself signed up as well for your opportunity at a 2-seater Indy car ride. How about that? If you've never done it, there's your opportunity. Plus, know this to be true. The Ruoff Music Center schedule is getting ready to fire up. Everwise firing up. Symphony on the Prairie firing up. The Indians already fired up. You get great discounts on so many entertainment levels around here. Becoming a AAA member, if you're not, do so today. And also remember the fact that if you go out on your family vacation coming up this summer, you got to make sure somebody's got your back on this bad boy, right? Right now, for example, James, I think I've got a malfunction in my left blinker, which is problematic. I think there's a little bit of moisture that seeps in there or something because it's not got a lot of life to it. So I just say, hey, AAA, like I did last week with a flat tire. Can you come out and get my pit crew in my driveway because I've got a flat tire? Boom, Matt and Matt got on it. There you go. So really anything, wherever you are, no matter where your travels take you this summer, AAA's behind you all the way. AAA.com to become a member and get all those perks as well. All right, the stream the app. It's HD Radio. Covers.com, what those sharps say in Vegas about the situation in the NBA Finals. Kevin Pelton of ESPN is on the way. Matt Pinto, the voice of the Thunder, on the way. Former NBA. I don't know if you would call him a legend, but to me, I was a tremendous fan of Michael Cage. Nobody was going to carve out space on the interior like Michael Cage did back in the day. Color analyst for the Thunder, scheduled to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. The stream, the app, it's HD Radio, the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. Do not go anywhere. It is a day away from the start of the NBA Finals, and you got all the info right here, all the content right here, all the coverage where you need to go. Absolutely no place. Plus, you have the summer of 2025 song of this season. And our guy Josh, and yes, sirs, more ways you can check that out across the social media, musical streaming landscape. And in fact, James, Terry Stacy approached me in the hallway. She wants Josh on the show with the song. There you go.
Yeah, she asked me about it too. I think he's gonna be getting on there here soon.
Did you give her the number?
I did. I
there
gave
you
her.
go.
I gave
I'm
her the
glad you
contact
did.
stuff.
There you did. We're working that. All right, quick break. We'll come back. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Speak up, because I can't hear you.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
James over there, I'm John. The voice of the Thunder, Matt Pinto, a little bit later on. Kevin Pelton of ESPN covers the NBA. I think now we go north of the border. You'll find him at Covers J-Lo. He's a friend of the show. A host of the Sharp 600 podcast. Some numbers breakdown, some wagering stuff. A good friend from Canada, Jason Logan, drops in right now. Hello, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
So, are you able to get away from the Stanley Cup final in Edmonton in Florida again to concentrate just a little bit on this?
Truth be told, I'm not a giant hockey fan. I like playing hockey, but I'm not a giant hockey fan. Now, I guess I have to root for the Oilers because we haven't had the Cup in Canada for far too long.
Well done.
I will be pulling for the Edmonton Oilers. However, I probably won't watch any of the games. I might have some wagers on there, but probably won't watch any.
Was it a year ago when the chick at Edmonton flashed her rack? That was the most impressive part of the Stanley Cup final last year.
I believe it was. I'm sure she'll get a reprise at some point during this series.
You got to bring her back, right?
That's the thing. Yeah, I think she's gone on to do like the OnlyFans thing and.
Is she into porn?
I think so. Don't quote me on it. I don't think.
At Covers J-Lo says that she is now into porn.
No. I don't think it's gone that far, but I'm sure she's made the most of her 15 minutes of fame.
See if you can locate her, James, just for this show content right here. Where do we start with? Because, I mean, obviously, I think I saw the odds. They were at 9 yesterday. Now it's at 9.5 with the favorite being OKC. Is this going to be an ever-changing thing as we go along, or do you think the Pacers make a little bit of headway and kind of chop that down a little bit?
I mean, there's definitely interest in the Pacers. We look at our Covers consensus numbers, and it shows the percentage of picks coming in on the Pacers, and that's at 64%. So, the way that this Pacers team goes about their business, the way that they've defied the odds all year, a lot of people do believe they are a live underdog, especially when you're throwing almost double-digit points at them. That said, it was 9.5, went down to 9, and now it's coming back to 9.5. So maybe more bets coming in on Indiana, more respected and heavier, bigger wagers coming in on OKC at home.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts personally about this matchup, just on the surface here, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fantastic and fun matchup. It's not what the NBA wanted, but in terms of basketball, it's going to be really entertaining. They both play at pace, but the Pacers' pace is different. You know what I mean? They're not a run and gun team. They just work your ass on the half court set and that frenetic passing where they're just moving the ball and getting so much ball movement and off the ball movement as well too for cutters. Just wears you down. I think the longer this series goes, the better it favors Indiana because OKC is a team that wants to get up and down and they want to score quickly and they want to push pace and score off of turnovers. But Indiana always takes care of the basketball really, really well, despite the number of passes that they throw. And I kind of equated it to a boxer, working the body for about 8 rounds, and then come the championship rounds, that opponent doesn't have anything left in the tank. And I think that could be OKC if we see this series go to 6 or 7 games.
Now, you can find him at Covers JLo, Jason Logan of Covers.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Game number 1 tomorrow night. That tip time is at 8:30. So do you buy the number right now?
I'm not betting into that one. I'm looking at the player prop market a little more than I'm not hesitant to lay that big spread with OKC. Just knowing that the way that Indiana doesn't, they thrive in that underdog role. They don't care, and they are a different beast compared to what OKC has seen and what a lot of the NBA teams have seen this year. Just the way that they run deep off the bench like Oklahoma City. But the one thing, like I said, they don't turn the ball over that much. They don't allow a lot of points off of turnovers. And that's where Oklahoma City really makes its hay, is they convert those defensive stops in transition. They get steals, they get out and run, and they score quickly. And the Pacers just don't cough it up that much. So I think it could be a little tighter. If I was to take the spread, I think I would take the points at plus 9.5.
What most impresses you about the Pacers? Is it just what you described, the way that they handle and keep the ball and don't turn it over, the cohesiveness? Obviously, a wagering person as you are, sharp as you are, what impresses you the most about this team?
I think it's the depth and there is no dependency on one person to go off. OKC does need Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to do something, right? He needs to draw the defense. He needs to do something. But with this Pacers team, they're not anchored to that one star. Halliburton, of course, is fantastic, but he didn't win the Eastern Conference MVP. Siakam, with a guy with playoff experience and title game experience, comes in and has big numbers. It just seems like everyone is happy to contribute when they can, and their offense is not hinged on one person creating something. It's just kind of this one living offense that everyone can kind of get theirs when the opportunities come up, and they're fine with that, and I think that's great. It's great team basketball.
The biggest upset if the Pacers were to win it in the NBA Finals since?
I got to say since.
Is it? They said was it 2007 with the Lakers and the Pistons? Is that when it was? I think.
I mean that, and I'm a Lakers fan, so that one stings.
And I'm just talking about biggest upset. According to the odds makers, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the point spreads, you go back and look at some of those like Cleveland Golden State matchups. When it was like LeBron and the Cavs and whoever else was on the Cavs at those time. He won with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, but some of those other Cavs teams were pretty bad. You saw the point spreads in those ones. There was spreads that were 9, 9.5, 10-point spreads for the Warriors. So I think just in terms of the odds and the point spreads, I believe the Warriors and Cavs had some of the bigger discrepancy in terms of how the odds makers viewed the finals.
I know, again, Jason Logan joins us of Covers.com. You mentioned a little bit earlier you're not dialed in completely to the Stanley Cup final, but if you were, what's the betting angle there that you'd be going with?
I mean, they did it again. They did it last year, right? It was Florida and Edmonton last year as well,
sure.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess you don't need extra motivation. Let's say I would say maybe the series goes 7 games. Let's say that. That'll be my bet. I'm not sure what the odds are on the exact series count, but I would say the series goes 7 games because they know each other so well. Edmonton obviously playing a little pissed off, but you don't need any extra motivation when you're in the Stanley Cup final. And while I don't watch a whole lot of hockey, I will say that the Stanley Cup playoffs, I believe, are the best postseason outside of those first 4 days of March Madness.
What else are you looking at as far as the numbers before I let you go here? Beyond the NBA Finals, beyond the Stanley Cup final.
WNBA for me. I mean, that's my kind of bread and butter. Once Doug picks up, I watch a lot of WNBA.
So you're a little down without Caitlin Clark right now, is what you're telling us, right?
Well, I will say that the win against Washington last night was impressive. They finally kind of got right without Clark. It was really good to see Kelsey Mitchell get out of her slump and put up some points because they really depended on her to do that. I want to give Stephanie White the benefit of the doubt. I was betting a lot of Natasha Howard over points, over rebounds. And I don't know what Natasha Howard did to piss off Stephanie White, but she's just not getting on the floor that much. But last night showed a lot of depth for Indiana, and even with Cunningham out. And I think once they get Clark back in, I mean, she just lifts everybody up around her. And it was a good character win for them last night to get right without Clark on the floor.
That's Jason Logan right there. You'll find him at Covers.com. He's become a friend of the show. Getting to set. So was SGA the odds-on favorite to be the MVP, much like he was the MVP of the league this season?
Yeah, he is. I mean, we're looking at OKC being minus 700 to win the NBA title, and SGA is minus 600 to win MVP. So if you do like OKC to win it all and you got an extra, some money hanging around, you don't mind laying minus 600, that might be the best way to go because he is very much the stick that stirs the drink for them. And then Halliburton plus 700 right now, which is, not bad for MVP. Pascal Siakam plus 1,600. He proved that he can play at an MVP caliber pace.
Who's second to SGA? Is it another Thunder player?
Second to SGA is Tyrese Halliburton at plus 700. Then you have Siakam plus 1,600, Williams plus 3,300, Chet Holmgren plus 6,000. That could be maybe a sneaky one as well too. That Chet Miles Turner matchup I think is going to be a lot of fun because that's two centers that can kind of score from anywhere and they like to stretch the floor and then they can both defend as well too.
So, Jason, before I let you go, you're in Canada, as we mentioned. Is there any Canadian pride, given there's so much Canadian basketball influence in this NBA Finals?
I mean, it's great for Canadian basketball. As a kid that grew up playing basketball in the face of hockey and having to sit through hockey highlights all the time before seeing the NBA highlights, it is great for Canadian basketball. And
did you know of any of these four guys before they made it somewhat larger than what they were in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, you follow them through the college ranks. I mean, being in Canada, you get to see them. You hear a little bit about them on the kind of the national sports scene, and I mean, Shea wasn't by any means a sleeper. The guy went to Kentucky, right? So I mean, you got to be pretty good if you're playing for Kentucky. But I think it's great. I mean, we saw the Steve Nash effect come through when Steve Nash had his MVP season, and now you're seeing that with this national team, Canada's national basketball team being a top 5 nation in basketball. So. There's other sports other than hockey here, which is great, and basketball picking up steam, and SGA is just a product of that.
I've often wondered, though, is being in British Columbia, is that the same as being in Canada, or are you kind of on the outside, being far west?
No, I'm from the far east. I'm originally from Halifax,
sure,
which is the East Coast. I feel like even that is more separated from the rest of Canada. But I mean, if there's talent out there, you can go and find competition, and it may not be in Canada, it may not be in your province. You may have to go to some of these prep schools, but the opportunities are there for these student athletes to get a spotlight on themselves. And then, of course, the way that the internet is now, I mean, you can recruit and watch these guys' mixtapes and all their highlights. You can sit there and live stream their games and catch their high school games. So. A lot more eyeballs coming north of the border in terms of basketball talent.
Yeah, 2 from Canada on OKC, 2 from the Pacers. So a little bit of country pride going on right there in basketball. In the NBA Finals, and he is Jason Logan of Covers.com. You can find him on the social media platform X. You can find him at Covers.com. And your show is called one more time, Jason, before we go?
Yes, it's the Sharp 600. It's basically 600 seconds of no fat, all protein NFL betting content come NFL season.
Man, I'm on an all protein diet right now, brother. So I'm with that. Well done. Hey, enjoy the finals too. Enjoy everything in Canada, and we'll catch up again later. Thanks, buddy.
All right, you guys as well. Good luck.
Jason Logan on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. By the way, James, Big Glenn tells me that the Edmonton fan that unleashed the beast, released the hounds last year during the Stanley Cup final is behind the paywall, evidently on Playboy. Behind the paywall.
On Playboy?
That's what he said.
Interesting.
I think Big Glenn's the foremost authority on what is not behind the paywall and what is behind the paywall. So evidently, that's the case. All right, so we have the lame-o governor bet here. Governors from the state of Indiana and Oklahoma on the finals. We have a bet.
Oh, I didn't see this.
A bet being lobbed. Would you like to bet or wager, in this case, make a wager on what the bet is going to be? What Mike Braun has offered up from the state of Indiana as a bet.
I'm some sort of jersey thing where he has to wear a jersey, or if we win, they have to wear a jersey. That'll be my bet.
Here's my bet. That Mike Braun's never worn a jersey in his life. There's my bet right there. So, no, it is not a jersey. I'll tell you what that is coming up next. We'll hit a break, come back. I will say this. It does hit you a little bit different when it's your team in your state. But normally we describe the governor's bets as incredibly lame. Or just something that you would understand, right? Kind of a rite of passage. A lame rite of passage. Give you that on the other side, too. Kevin Pelton of ESPN, Matt Pinto, voice of the Thunder, and a lot more. Don't go anywhere. A little over a day away from a tip time. 8:30 tomorrow night. Game 1, 8 o'clock, your coverage right here. And I will give you a pre to the pre. I'm going from 3 until, 8 o'clock, I think, coming up tomorrow night. Getting you set for game number 1 of the NBA Finals, where the Pacers are in it for the first time in 25 years. Don't go anyplace else. The lame-ass bet and more coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, this date back in 1994, I believe Born in the USA by Springsteen was released, but so was this. Oh, the drummer, the percussionist extraordinaire, the lovely Sheila E. This date back in 1984. Well done. The Glamorous Life. Yeah, I mentioned when you're a part of something like this, and it's been 25 years, so I mean, hell, everybody's forgotten, right? Yeah, normally when you hear it from another stage, you go, yeah, whatever. So there is evidently a governor's bet. James guessed a jersey, and I had mentioned I doubt if Mike Braun's ever put on a jersey. Mike Braun, the governor of the state of Indiana, has wagered Indiana's finest pork from Smoking Goose, everybody. Crafting sausages, slow-cured, and smoked meats from the downtown Indy meadery since 2011. The Smoking Goose, Indiana's finest pork, which, when I say it that way, reminds me, R.I.P. Sky Point, to my great friend Donnie Baker. Because he would be, if he put it in those terms, his Indiana's finest pork means something significantly different. Indiana's finest pork from the Smoking Goose. Now, Governor Kevin Stitt, who has an incredible SEG. It's ironic that the MVP is SGA. The governor of Oklahoma, James, has an SEG. You know what an SG is? S-E-G. A seg. You know what a seg is? Somebody tell James what a seg means.
Is this something that I should know that's really obvious?
It will be if you look at the picture. He has got a tremendous seg right there. But I have not seen what Oklahoma is offering her up. Well, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Here it is. It is up there. It's on, Governor Braun. I'll throw down some world-class Oklahoma steaks. So steaks from Seg and the finest in pork from Braun. That is your governor wager. Hey, listen, I would soak that up too. I know it's lame when it's somebody else, but not so much when it's you. JMV, this from Jared. I love that we're not a destination city. Guys who complain about that are worried about their brand and the off-the-court opportunities. Too many distractions. We have dudes that just want to hoop, by God, Jared. That's accurate. 4 wins away from a title. 28 others can't say that. It is about hoop. And I will say that, Jared, that's what it's about in OKC, too. It's about hoop. The destination location. If you want to be a part of something basketball-wise special, if you want to be around a state that loves basketball, this is it. If you want to jackass around someplace else that's not, then so be it. Greg writes this. I got your back on the Jasper Holodome, JMV. I grew up in DuBois County. It was an elementary, junior high kids oasis. It was, man. I always loved jumping in the indoor pool and then immediately rolling over and playing Donkey Kong with wet hands while sitting on a stool dripping wet. It was awesome. And all that stuff was on AstroTurf like the backyard of the Brady Bunch. It was glorious. What a time to be alive for a kid right there. I feel bad my kids missed out on all that. You ever play Space Invaders with wet hands when you just got out of the pool? No idea what I'm talking about then. That is outstanding, though. Thank you very much. JMV, I've watched the final 245 of the Pacers-Knicks game one about 20 times in the past few days. I can't get enough. And you almost, Brandon, realize that something else happens when you're watching it. You go, oh, well, wait a minute. Like, I realized once again that it could have manufactured itself an even more Pacer favor. With Brunson trying to throw it off, he was trapped in the corner trying to throw it off of, I think it was Nimhard. That thing bounced aimlessly for about 35 feet until Anunoby picked it up. And then there was an inbounds pass that Nimhard kind of went the wrong direction on. Had he went the other direction, it would have been thrown right to him. But I'm right there with you. I watched the last minute. I cannot still believe what we witnessed. It's outstanding. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Kevin Pelton in about 30 minutes. I have time for you at 239-1070. Those of you that didn't make it in yesterday, now is your opportunity. Now is your chance. 239-1070. Game one of the finals tomorrow. And we are going to be all in and bringing you absolutely everything. I'll tell you where we're going to be. I'll tell you what we're doing, the content you're going to have, not just tomorrow, but going through the first NBA Finals for the Pacers in 25 years. And your calls coming up on the other side at 239-1070. Kevin Pelton in 30 minutes. Matt Pinto, the voice of the Thunder, after 5. You stay right there. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
on drugs. Any questions?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
SEG is also known as SEG. Reds fans would know this from Reds Radio. Bill Seg Deniston. James, have you found out what SEG means?
I have discovered the meaning, yes.
The governor of the state of Oklahoma has a significant SEG. What would that be?
Well, it's a word I can't say, but it's a type of grin that he has on his face. And I would
blank-eating grin.
I would agree. He does that, and does have that in spades,
Always,
actually.
yeah, it's like a significant blank eating.
It
It's
is.
like, you know what? I want to make sure my profile picture's got to be with the most incredible, the most dynamic blank eating grin of all time. And he's offering up steaks. Mike Braun's offering up Indiana's finest pork. Let me raise mine. No, I'm just joking. That's in honor of our late, great, incredible friend that we miss a great deal, Donnie Baker. Indiana's finest pork is what Mike Braun, but that's not that kind. From the Smoking Goose. I've not been to the Smoking Goose before. Should I?
I haven't been there either, but I'm assuming it's good if it's
bet.
Indiana's finest pork.
Smoking Goose. Hey, by the way, too, we don't do traffic around here with Matt Bear, but we probably should. This is according to Sean Ash. He doesn't do traffic either. He does weather for Channel 13. Avoid Pennsylvania. Not the state, but the street. Avoid Pennsylvania and around the field house unless you like sitting in traffic going absolutely nowhere. I believe Penn is backed up from the field house north of Michigan right now. Not the state of Michigan either, but north of Michigan. People are waiting. I believe it is some kind of gift bag that the Pacers are giving away, some kind of drive-up gift bag thing. And evidently it has traffic on Pennsylvania foobarred. A free gift bag is what it is. It has been described as horns blaring, cars stopped at intersections, and I think it just started like 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, according to Matt Bear, it's going to 4 till 7.
So, yeah. Hey, listen, if you are somewhere on Pennsylvania waiting right now, call me and give me the traffic heads-up scoop. The traffic heads-up scoop at 239-1070 if you're on Pennsylvania right now in that. Big Glenn says, much like Big Glenn was all about the not behind and behind the Playboy paywall, Big Glenn says traffic's backed up to 10th. That is a long way right there from the field house.
So I'm looking at Google Maps right now, and it looks pretty ugly on Pennsylvania at the moment.
Who is in it? Let me know if you're soaking in it right now, please. The 239-1070. The Murdog writes this. Hey, JMV, how about some love for the Y Store playing at the Vogue tonight? Man, my man Chris Schaefer, shout out. Their newly released CD is called Mothership. They are back. Well, you know how I feel about Chris Schaefer. He's an all-timer. So the Y Store at the Vogue later on tonight, and their new album. Do you even call it CD release anymore? Do they have CDs? Their album release, Mothership. The Y Store tonight at the Vogue in Broad Ripple. You can check that out. JMV, everybody is stuck in traffic on Pennsylvania. They are waiting in line for a free Yes Sirs t-shirt. I've got about 3 on the back of my chair in my office right there if somebody wants them. I think actually Carl, who's Tony Katz's producer, took one of them right there. Richard Reeves with a picture. Richard is going nowhere fast. That's just a little bit north on Pennsylvania of the Huntington Bank location and market right there. Richard, who also came up with the badass JMV song that we play all the time here and on B105.7, gave me a picture of the standstill traffic. So, yeah, you steer clear unless, and here's Barron. Barron's waiting for the swag right now, stuck in traffic. I think Barron's actually a little bit in front of Richard on Pennsylvania. Now, we shall keep you updated. Actually, we have updates right here. Traffic updates. We don't have Matt Bear, but we have Nick on line 1 at 239-1070. Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. I drove down here from Westfield an hour and a half ago, and I am just in front of the Market Street stoplight.
Patience is a virtue, my brother. Well done.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be losing my you-know-what by now, probably.
Oh, people are. See, I'm in the middle lane. There's people on the left who realize they're not going to be able to get in line, and they're trying to force their way into the line, which is causing all sorts of chaos.
Oh, no. They're not doing it. What is the zipper effect? That's how it normally works, right? When left goes and the right goes, and they all merge into one, but you can't do that way?
I'm too far away from the front to see if that's what they're doing, but people are trying to force in early.
Nick, chill out. Hey, Nick, I tell you what. Since you're in traffic right there, you show out at a live event sometime, and if I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on the air, I get in all kinds of trouble, but a free sample will be yours. How about that?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Remind me of this call, Nick, because, I mean, this is a public service you're providing right here. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Nick's from Westfield, and he's in line and has been for an hour and a half. Lord have mercy. Is that Cadillac on line 4 right here? Best of all,
yeah, JMV.
Best of all, it's a Cadillac on line 4. What's up, brother?
Man, I'm right here in Vermont, Pennsylvania. Been here for about 25 damn minutes. Ain't moved a lick.
Listen, but nothing's going to break your stride, though, right? You're still cool.
I'm hanging.
Yeah. That's my man right there, Cadillac. So what do you guys get out of this? A yes, sir shirt?
Yes, sir. A whole package of glasses, hat, and everything.
They better add something to that gift bag. They may want to add a basketball or something to that right now if you guys are waiting.
Yeah,
I'm going to say
wish
this.
they would.
Cadillac, let me tell you this. I'm excited because this is a fever pitch for the Pacers right now. That's awesome, man. It is great. I know that it stinks to be stuck in traffic, but it's pretty cool that you have so many that are involved.
Called.
Yeah, it comes with the territory of being an awesome basketball team, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Cadillac, I appreciate that update. Thank you.
All right, thanks, man. Take
Yeah,
it easy.
Cadillac, you show up at a live show sometime, and a free sample will be yours. You guys like that reference? Best of all, it's a Cadillac. Hey, by the way, too, I should mention this before I get back to the phones. Don't go anywhere. But I should mention that I think Kinnett told me with the Pacer tickets, if you're looking for some, you can find them. Or bullseyeeventgroup.com as well. So go there. According to my man, Kyle Kinnett, who sent me a message a little bit earlier today. JMV Braun offered pork and to fire the trustees of Oklahoma State Universities. Oh, man. By the way, going to a holodome and getting out of the pool and then immediately playing $2 worth of pole position without ever touching a towel made for a great childhood. My goodness, that's awesome right there. You're so right. So right. I love the holodome. Matthew checks in. I knew it would be absolutely stupid there on Penn. Hell, people line up for hours to get free $1.50 tacos from Taco Bell. Q317 says, indeed, it's an extra yes sir shirt is what you're getting. Drew has been in line since 3:15. He's just about set to get that swag. Hey, by the way, Richard tells me they only have 5,000. 5,000 available, according to Richard right there. Is this Lindsay at 239-1070? Hi, Lindsay. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
You got your swag here. Tell me all about it.
I got my bag at 4:03.
4:03. Were you the first in line?
No, I feel like there was a good amount of people in front of me. They have about I was going down the Pennsylvania side, and they had about 50 people plus handing out bags, and you go all the way to the end to get the bags. I'm not sure if it was because I was one of the first, but not everybody was handing out a bag when I pulled through.
So what is in it? Tell those that are awaiting their bag of swag. What's in it?
Yes, so it looks like I got a Yes Sirs poster, I got a pair of glasses, a towel, and a T-shirt, an extra large Yes Sirs T-shirt.
All right.
So I think everything that they had pictured on their Instagram post is what is in it.
I got to be more active on Instagram, don't I? I'm just not that active on Instagram. Yeah, I need to be, don't I? Hey, Lindsay, do we follow one another on Instagram?
I don't believe we do, but I will follow you.
Yeah, and I'll follow you right back. How about that?
Okay, great.
Yeah. Lindsay, thank you for the update, too. I'm glad you got through it.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Got it. Lindsay sounds so jovial. I dig that. Hannah's next on line 1, James. Hannah, hello.
Hi.
Hi, Hannah.
I am just on Pennsylvania off New York Street.
Yes.
And I've been here for about 45 minutes, haven't moved an inch, and have seen 2 fights already.
Oh, really? Well, let's get the fights detailed right here. Did they have to be broken up, or did they break up on their own?
It was 2 people trying to get in the same lane. One guy was in a big Ram truck, and the other was in a small white Prius. And, yeah.
Oh, no.
The white car won, actually. The dude in the truck had to run off because the guy was screaming at him through the other side of the window. So, yeah, it was pretty impressive, to be honest. I thought the truck was going to win.
The guy in the white truck may have had a prior or 2 right here. Maybe he had to go.
He might have. I saw him take off on the hazard lines and give up on the line. So, but I'm in line for my husband. He asked me to try and get some swag, and at this point, I'm thinking divorce might be on the table.
Oh, really? Is this
the
the worst thing he's ever asked you to do? Now, you don't have to go into graphic detail here, but no, is this the worst thing he's ever asked you to do, Hannah?
Oh, probably, but that's okay. I love him that much.
Good for you. Because I will say this, putting you in this type of situation to see what you've seen so far today, it could be deemed grounds for at least approaching divorce. You know what I mean? So I understand. He owes you something really big when you get home.
Oh, yeah, he does.
I'm thinking Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. Take him there.
Ooh.
Tell him I sent you, because I think he owes you something like that.
I think so, too. Thank you.
Hannah, have a great rest of your week, and go Pacers. Enjoy it, because I will say this. It is awesome, even with the inconvenience right now of doing this, it's awesome to have this type of representation from Pacer fans and being able to go through this for the first time in 25 years. So soak that up.
For sure. It's huge.
Soak it up, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Hannah right there. Hannah's waiting in line. 2 fights? We're fighting down there, huh?
I just love the fact that the guy in the Prius apparently beat the guy in the big souped-up Dodge Ram truck.
Prius dudes, I'm not having any of that right there.
Don't mess with a man with a hybrid.
Hey, have I also told you how awesome your updates are? You guys are great at this. I've always thought about implementing a little bit of traffic in here. And because they do it every 5 seconds over there on IBC, don't they?
It's like every 15 minutes or so, yeah.
Is it 15 minutes or 35 seconds? I think with Tony Katz is on the 5s.
It could be on the 5. I haven't worked over there in a long time, so I don't remember.
This is from Tracy. So I'm on South Street in front of the post office, waiting to get on Pennsylvania, and people are losing their stuff. Cars are blocking intersections. Boy. Tracy Thompson, shout out to Tracy. It's outstanding right there. Yeah, I just saw that too. Whoa. Yeah.
Our man Evan Sherrill chimes in on the YouTube chat. He says the line is backed up all the way to Cluster Truck.
Oh, is it really?
Apparently.
He's got to get. I thought he was coming into today, right? With Cluster Truck?
He might be trying to come in here right now.
I've got to have some salmon tonight, brother, so you better haul some ass in here so your guy can have some salmon. Wednesday night salmon treat right there.
He says he's on the way.
Awesome. Love to hear that. Hey, speaking of that, we do have locations for you coming up next week. In fact, I know Jake is going to be at the Fishers, the near Geisel location of Ale Emporium tomorrow for a watch party with our friends from Zinc and Michelob Ultra Zero. I've got like 5 hours of coverage and conversation coming at you before game number 1 tomorrow. I'll lead you up to 8 o'clock in the pregame coverage on the Pacers radio network, with that tip time being, of course, at 8:30. But we're going to go on Sunday prior to Game 2. Tom's Watch Bar, that is our triumphant return to Tom's Watch Bar downtown here. We'll do a live show on Sunday, again, before game number 2 of the NBA Finals. And then a couple of different times coming up next week where I'm going to be out and about. I just looked a moment ago, and I can't remember. I think, where is this, Travis had said? I was going to give you the information. I think he said, okay, the pub next Wednesday and Hyatt Place, which I believe is Pivot right there. Next, when the hell is that, Travis? I'll just X that out. Next Friday. Michelob Ultra Zero brings us to you. Nah, it's all really fun. I will say this, easy for me to say, right? But, yeah, just try to be chill. No jackassery. Be like Hannah, who was cool as hell. Lindsay, who was cool as hell. Cadillac was all chilled. Yeah, you don't want to get your ass in a sling over this, do you? Saw this a little bit earlier, too. Tyrese Halliburton said his father will be at the NBA Finals. I mean, I think that story is old and over by now, is it not? It should be. Should be. 239-1070. Doug is on line 1. Doug, welcome to the show.
Hey, JMV, how you doing today?
Doug, I couldn't be better. Thank you for the call. Go ahead.
You know, they were talking about the bet and talking about the best pork in Indiana coming from some goose place.
The goose? The smoking goose. Yes.
Don't they know about the Odin Meat Locker?
I don't think they do. We try to tell them, don't we, brother?
Oh, you're right. I go down there about once a month.
Well, I'm telling you, there is nothing better than the Odin Meat Locker in the summertime to get what you want right there, man. Seriously.
You have a good one, JMV, and go Pacers.
Dave, let me ask you this really quick, though. Do you go for the marinated turkey?
Oh, I get the marinated turkey every now and then. The wife's not a big turkey eater, but
I got you.
I get down there and I stock the freezer up.
There you go, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
And it's barbecue season, so I'll be back.
Yeah, if you got a smoker, man, they have incredible smoked meats or ready-to-be smoked meats down there, including great brisket. So that's the Odin Meat Locker, the pride of Odin, Indiana, in Davies County right there. Doug, I appreciate the update.
Have a good one.
Jason's up next, line 2 at 239-1070. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Yeah, it's busier than a cucumber in a women's prison on Pennsylvania here.
You're cut out there, but it's probably good that you did. What? So, are you about there?
I am just south of Ohio Street on Pennsylvania, 3 lanes wide.
Gotcha.
Waiting to get there.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, hey, stay chilled. All right, Jason? Stay chilled, get your swag, and check back in before game number 1, man. Good talking with you.
Absolutely. Go Sirs.
You got it? Man, got to get used to that Sirs thing right there. That kind of breaks my heart a little bit. Just a little bit. Now, did Josh get a hold of Terry Stacy about putting yes sirs on?
I don't know if he's gotten
show?
a hold of her yet. I showed her his Twitter account, so hopefully she seemed like she knew what she was doing and was able to get it taken care of.
Gotcha. Yes, sirs. That is the song of the summer of 2025. Hey, by the way, Daenerys going on that charter flight to OKC for game number 1, so we'll hook up with him. Call him, and we'll hook up with him coming up tomorrow as well. You probably were told, or at least read this, heard this someplace, that the Pacers are taking staff down to games 1 and 2, kind of split that up. Chris Daenerys going for game number one, and we'll be down there coming up tomorrow. He'll join us as a part of the show tomorrow. Before the break, Nick is up next. He's got a bag. Hello, Nick.
JMV, how are you?
What kind of bag you got there? A dime bag or a bag full of swag? What is it?
A bag full of swag.
Gotcha.
I don't know if people want to hear this, but I left the office at 3:20, which is at 91st and Meridian, and I just pulled into my garage at Stop 11 in Arlington. I came in off Maryland, and they waved me right in, and
you ran roughshod through that bad boy, right? So you
I only had to wait for one stoplight.
So you came off of Maryland, so you're going eastbound, east to west instead, right?
Yep.
So that works for you. Nick, that's savvy from you right there, buddy.
So I didn't know what to expect, and just followed Waze, and Waze took me the correct way.
I think there are a lot of people wishing they would have taken that particular path like you. Job well done, Nick.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. That's Nick right there with updates. Barron's almost to the finish line right now. Tracy Thompson looks like is close to getting there. J-Law's got an eye popper, evidently. And Kevin Pelton's going to join us coming up on the other side. Yeah, Kevin Pelton, NBA, WNBA writer for ESPN. He's got the Fabulous Pelton Cast. That is a podcast talking about the NBA. And we'll together talk up game number one and the NBA final series between the Pacers and OKC. Kevin Pelton scheduled to join us coming up next. Matt Pinto, the voice of the Thunder, coming up after 5, and hopefully Michael Cage at some point. Have we heard from Michael?
He is confirmed.
Michael Cage, the color analyst of the Thunder in the 5 o'clock hour, too. Sit tight. Especially if you're on Pennsylvania and you're going to get that Pacer gear. Soak up the show with us. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
with JMV.
The sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, he was a badass back in the day. Michael Cage was all over the glass in the 1980s. Color analyst for the Thunder joins us. The play-by-play voice, Matt Pinto, coming up at the 5 o'clock hour as well. I got about 5 hours for you coming up tomorrow, so we'll brace for that. Jake is going to be, not with Query and Company, but for a watch party tomorrow night. Ale Emporium and Fishers near Geist. You'll want to make sure you're a part of that. Then Tom's Watch Bar for me downtown prior to game number 2. That is on early Sunday evening. All that and more I'll explain to you in a second. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he covers the NBA like no other. You know him very well, all of his work, whether it's written or it's in video or you hear it audibly. It is Kevin Pelton who joins us now. Hey, Kevin, thank you very much for the time. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, Michael Cage all over the glass in the 80s and the Activator. So you got to be sure to bring that up.
Well, yeah, I was gonna rock a Ready for the World question for him. You think I should? You think you'd be cool with it?
I haven't brought it up with him, but I think so.
Yeah. So, hey, what's the first thing you think about in this particular matchup? And I know a lot of people go with market size. Obviously, we don't because we're in this particular market. But matchup consideration, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I think it's got to be the point guards in the series, which, you know, it is kind of funny to describe as a matchup because clearly Tyrese Halliburton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are not going to spend any substantial amount of time defending each other in this series with the outstanding perimeter defenders that both of these teams have to throw out the other guy. But, you know, one of the things I mentioned in the first look we wrote about this on Sunday was that, you know, it's been since 2015 that we've seen 2 All-NBA point guards meet in the NBA Finals in the same series. And, you know, that one, unfortunately, it was Kyrie Irving against Steph Curry, obviously, same situation where one of the 2 players won MVP, but Kyrie, coming back from some injuries, suffered his patella injury in game 1 of that series and basically didn't participate. So, you know, hopefully we get several games here of Halliburton and Gilgeous-Alexander, and 2 of these guys were outstanding point guards in very different ways.
What do you think is the Pacers have to overcome what more? The landslide of offense that either SGA or anybody else going about 9-10 deep, OKC can throw at you, or just the waves defensively. It is never ending on both ends. But which stands out to you as far as what the Pacers have to overcome first?
I think it's the defense because of the way that, you know, both of these teams, their offense feeds off of their defense, and Oklahoma City's offense in particular, we have seen it bogged down at times in the half court, particularly in the Denver series when they struggled against the Nuggets zone defense. And, you know, we saw Jalen Williams have a tough series. A lot of their bench players were not as effective as they usually are. And that's, you know, the kind of series that I think Indiana is going to need if they're going to win this. And the way that you accomplish that is you don't turn the ball over. And that's something that has been such a strength for the Pacers throughout this run, and yet an even greater strength for Oklahoma City in terms of their ability to force turnovers at a historic rate and a differential that we've never seen before in the playoffs. So, you know, if Oklahoma City is able to force turnovers and get out and run, then I think it's going to be very difficult for Indiana.
Do you think market size matters at all with these 2 teams involved?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be on the scoreboard anywhere. You know, obviously it's such a talking point, but once the games start, you know, it's completely irrelevant. And, you know, I think one of the things we've seen over times in the NBA is, yes, obviously market size still matters and is important, but it's secondary in many ways to star power. You know, Oklahoma City was one of the smallest markets in the league during the Durant and Westbrook era, and yet it was still a marquee national draw because those players were such singular stars and were able to become that in a smaller market. And I think, you know, we haven't seen that yet with Shai and Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Williams and some of the guys in this series, But part of that is, because of the fact that there has been so much focus on the veteran stars in bigger markets, the Steph Currys and the LeBron Jameses. And, with the stage all to themselves for a couple of weeks here, I think it's really an opportunity for Halliburton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to begin ascending toward that level.
It's Kevin Pelton writes about the NBA, podcasts about the NBA. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You referenced a little bit, going back to December, the first meeting, a 6-point win here in Indy by the Thunder. There's no Chet Holmgren, no Alex Caruso in that game, no Aaron Nesmith for the Pacers. Fast forward, and this is kind of a weird dynamic, Kevin, at work here. Back on March the 29th, so the Pacers got blown out of the gymnasium in OKC. However, you had Houston and Purdue playing here in the regional semifinals, and I think that people really didn't have time to stop and not necessarily not watch, but there wasn't a lot of attention paid to it, that meeting in OKC. And even though Holmgren didn't play in that game either, the Pacers, I thought, had everybody active. And, yeah, that was not one you want to put on the highlight reel whatsoever. Probably the least of the highlight reel for the season for the Pacers.
Yeah, and I think it represents something about the Thunder in their season, which is that they were completely dominant against the Eastern Conference. Indiana at home gave them one of the toughest tests that they got all year. Their only loss to the East was at Cleveland in the first of those two showdowns between teams that went on to win well north of 60 games. And we have seen over time that regular season series has become a less important predictor of what's going to happen in the playoffs. I feel like, did Milwaukee win the season series against Indiana this year? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. Yes, they did. Yes.
Yeah. So I
like 2-1 if memory serves. 2-1, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Not dramatic.
And that dramatic 4-point play from Halliburton was the difference in that one. So yeah.
Yeah, it used to be the case that was a pretty good predictor, especially in the early rounds of the playoffs. It's never been a particularly strong predictor in the finals since these teams only play a couple of times, but increasingly little over time because, largely with injuries and in-season roster changes, you're seeing very different teams by the time that they meet in the playoffs. So, and I do think, even though this Indiana team was running hot by that March meeting in a way that they weren't in December when, you had Nesmith out, as you mentioned, and Nembhard was just coming back into the lineup. Like, still, the Indiana team that you see today after being tested in 3 rounds of these playoffs is not probably the same that played in March.
Well, you think about the regular season, too. You reference the regular season with the Bucks. I think they split with the Cavaliers, but there were a couple of games that were, especially one down the stretch of the season when it was nothing but backups. I almost checked into the game. That's who they had playing, basically, at the end of the regular season there. And then, the Knicks, they ended up taking the regular season series, too. So I don't know how much can dictate terms on what we may or may not witness coming up tomorrow night at OKC.
Yeah, I would say not much. I mean, the other factor that goes into it is, in the regular season, you don't have time to specifically game plan for opponents. You're mostly worried about what you're doing in that situation. And both of these teams, with the Thunder clinching as early as they did and the Pacers finishing out the Knicks on Saturday, have had some time to prep their game plans. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot of different things. But, I do think it is indicative of, one of the elements of this series is that Oklahoma City, when they get going, they have just been able to overwhelm teams, even into the playoffs. And, obviously culminating in their Game 5 blowout of Minnesota that was never in doubt to clinch the finals appearance. And, that's one of the factors that I think is going to make this a difficult series for Indiana.
You think dropping that initial game in the West semis to Denver puts them more on Game 1 upset alert than it would be? For example, do you think, just logically speaking, it would have been better off had that not occurred for the Pacers to sneak out and win Game 1, or is that irrelevant in this case?
I would say after what the Pacers did in their 2 Game 1s and Game 2s as well in the last 2 rounds, taking these 2-0 series leads on the road, like anyone is going to be on, I think, high alert of what Indiana can do at the start of the series. And it'll be interesting because I do think, the Pacers have probably benefited to some degree of, their style is so singular, the pace with which they play. I'm not hearing a lot lately about all the NBA teams play the same, which is weird. Why isn't anyone still saying that? I do think there is a bit of an adjustment period, so it'll be interesting to see how Oklahoma City handles that and whether they're ready for it out of the box tomorrow.
How many teams play in the fashion that these two teams do? Because they both want to push it. They both play with incredible depth, and it is very team-oriented to, I think, a point where we're going to see, and this has been my guess all along, a not-so-subtle transition with more teams going to. I mean, it's weird because after the season, how many different coaches and players have talked about needing to be in better condition? And I think a lot of that is because of the pace of play that the two finalists put on the floor each and every night. Combine that with what may be the future landscape here in the NBA. Is this going to be a trendy thing?
I think so. And, I think the depth piece in particular, it's going to be difficult to replicate, but it's kind of fascinating to contrast that between the off-season discussion is so much about, as usual, where are these stars going to go? Kevin Durant, is he going to get traded? Giannis. And it is interesting to kind of reflect on that. Obviously these are teams that were built via trade, but it wasn't via trade for existing stars. It was getting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Tyrese Halliburton when they were young and then developing them into stars and building teams around them. And then in Indiana's case, adding Pascal Siakam is, kind of the one missing piece when you had already put together this young core that had a glaring hole at power forward. And it's not the strategy that teams have been pursuing in recent off seasons. And, as you see some of these star-driven teams lose early, it'll be interesting to see, does anyone pull back and start to focus more on depth on it? But the siren call of a star player is hard to resist.
It's Kevin Pelton. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So keeping Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off the free throw line, easier said than done. What type of plan should be cobbled together to see just how you could possibly try to do that? Because, listen, right now, there's no hate here in Indy for OKC players. I guarantee you after game one and he goes to the free throw line 25 times, people around here will be pissed outside of their mind.
I couldn't believe the free throw merchant chants in Minneapolis because it seems like such kind of a very online thing. And then there it is sprung to life in the crowd there. A sign that we're maybe all too online. I think, what Shai deserves a lot of credit for is that you think about the players that are often derided as just seeking fouls. Like, it often tends not to work in the playoffs. I wrote about it a few years ago that there's a history of players with really high foul rates kind of underperforming in the playoffs. James Harden, notable example, DeMar DeRozan for a long period of time. You can maybe even say Trae Young since 2021. And obviously that hasn't happened with Gilgeous-Alexander, and I think that's an indication that, even though he is very skilled at the arts of selling fouls, it's also, he's drawing so many fouls in part because he is very difficult to guard. So I'm not sure there is, a strategy as simple as like when San Antonio would defend Harden back in the day by just like, we're not even going to reach in whatsoever so that there's no risk of you drawing a foul where you're going up to shoot. I don't think there's a one neat trick for that. I think it's just going to be a matter of, and I do think it'll matter how the series is officiated, because Aaron Nesmith and the physicality with which he was able to play against Jalen Brunson was obviously so critical to Indiana's win in that series. If officials let him play that physically against SGA, I think they've got a fighting chance. If not, it could be a long series.
I think the issue that they're going to have is Brunson initiates, and that's easy to see. I mean, it's kind of brute on brute. Yeah, SGA, and I don't know if there's an analytical form out here for this, but I swear to you, a lot of his fouls come with the body and not with the reach that you're talking about. I could be wrong, but that's just by watching over the course of the season. That's how it looks and feels.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. And, the other difference between those guys is SGA, has the strength, but it's more about his quick twitch, his quickness in his first step, and then playing with physicality from there than Brunson, where it's, all physicality. So, this could be a series maybe where the matchup goes a little better for Andrew Nembhard than the Brunson matchup did in the last round.
By the way, so Kevin Pritchard was not top 12 Executive of the Year. What the hell? Seriously, do you ever go back on that vote? And listen, they say nobody cares, but that is outrageous. I mean, the dude from Sacramento got gassed And he was in the top 12. That's an amazing stat right there to me.
Yeah, I assume that had to be a friend of Monty's voting kind of in support based on what happened this season and the way his hands were tied. But, I do think it kind of illustrates some of the problems with executive of the year, because executive is not a year-to-year function. And you would say, probably the best moves that Kevin Pritchard and this Indiana front office made to build this team were before the last 12 months. It was, getting a bunch of undervalued players and developing them into quality players. And then, like I mentioned, the Siakam trade to provide you the last piece. In last year, it's been, kind of more tweaking around the edges to maintain the depth, especially with the center injuries that they had at the start of the season that you almost sort of don't even think about anymore, because Isaiah Jackson has been gone such a long period of time, and then Marvin Bagley. But
hey, Kev, how can people?
I even forgot it was James Wiseman.
Sure.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes, exactly. How can people find your work, both in the written word, video, audio? Where do they find you?
Yeah, my written work will all be on the NBA page at ESPN.com, and then links to everything at Cape Helton on Blue Sky.
Hey, well done, man. I appreciate you more than you know. I've noticed that you kind of had an exit strategy on X, didn't you, here a little bit?
Yes, I was early to that one.
All right, here's the other thing I'm going to do for you. When we re-enter with Ready for the World's old Sheila, I'm going to blame you for it when Michael Cage comes on, okay?
I'm happy to take it.
I'm going to say, that's Kevin Pelton's idea, man, not mine. So, anyway, hey, we'll hopefully catch up at some other time in the finals, man. Appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for having me.
So, Kevin Pelton on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Podcast that up. We'll re-rack that coming up tomorrow in the evening as well. Evan Sherrill has made it in studio. The salmon is safe and sound and bagged and tagged. We'll get to Evan coming up here on the other side, James. How about that? Quick break. We'll come back. Don't go anywhere. It's Michael Cage. It's Matt Pinto. It is Thunder and Pacers, 5 o'clock hour, and it's right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't roll that with Michael Cage coming up here at the top of the hour, right?
I think I hit the wrong button. I meant to play something.
No,
off
that's
this, but
okay.
I do
like we can do digital display, or you can. I don't do Let Me Love You Down. That'll be a little weird. Do Cameo. Word up. Michael Cage, top of the hour. Matt Pinto. Thunder perspective coming up here in the 5 o'clock hour. Evan Sherrill, Cluster Truck, is in studio. So I was a little bit jealous because Jackson Lee and because Connor Daly and Kevin Bowen all had their burgers. So I had a couple of options here. We can go, as of right now, the JMV shirtless in the summertime salmon and cottage cheese on the side. Or you can even go old school to the fat-ass JMV fried bologna and hot fries special. What do you think?
See, we would never...
The fat-ass JMV special.
We would never food shame, so whatever you're feeling...
No, that's me. I'm not food shamed about it, man. I'm happy. I'm happy I left Fat Boy behind right here. So we left him behind. But, yeah, either one, because I'm a little bit jealous.
Okay, I do still love the swim upstream with JMV salmon meal.
You like that?
So
you don't like the shirtless in the summertime salmon
like
with JMV?
That too. They
Yeah.
both roll off the tongue real nice.
They do, right?
Yeah, either way, get the salmon with JMV. I mean, obviously he loves it, so you would too.
I love me some salmon. Just slap a little, what do you call a dollop or what, around the side, right? Cottage cheese, and make it happen. So I know I have the salmon and the vegetables. What'd you bring for James today?
Yes, I brought James our number 2 seller on the P-Mix, buffalo chicken wrap, hand-tossed, hand-breaded, house-made buffalo sauce, lettuce, tomato, all wrapped in a nice tortilla.
There we go.
That's a top 2 right there. What's the top 5? And the Cluster Truck catalog right here.
Well, the number 1 is actually ranch dressing. Our house-made ranch is
really
the number 1 seller on the menu. Yeah,
people drinking that out there. Let's celebrate a Pacer win with a shot of ranch.
Man, you could. It is that. Yeah. That's the Hoosier mentality right there. Honestly, but top 5 items. You got the chicken Caesar wrap. That is fire. Buffalo chicken wrap, lazy breakfast burrito. The build your own burrito bowl and quesadilla are up there as well. Anything you get is fire.
Man, why did Mike Braun not offer up like the JMV swim upstream salmon special for the summertime at a bet with the blank eating grin of whoever the Oklahoma governor is? He had a big time seg going right there. Looked like he had a mouthful. You know what his name is, the governor. But yeah, a little cluster truck bet. I think it'd be good. Hey, by the way, too, with the games on, let's make sure everybody knows this. Use the promo code FAN, $5 off a $25 order or more.
Yes, use the promo code FAN, $5 off. And then, you know what? You use the code FAN. You want another? You subscribe to our email newsletter. You download the app. You accept push notifications. You're getting discounts all the time. You're now a Cluster Truck customer. You're a loyalist. Let's get that.
That is our good friend Evan Sherrill. ClusterTruck.com, promo code FAN. That's $5 off a $25 order or more. A perfect lead-in to Michael Cage coming up next. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
We'll do it again next week, buddy. Thank you.
That sounds great. Thank you,
Evan
guys.
Sherrill in studio with us. Quick break. As I mentioned, Matt Pinto, the voice of the Thunder, bottom of the hour. And their color analyst, to me, one of my favorite players of the 80s, Michael Cage, is set to join us coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Listen here. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Now go away.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Awaiting the call of Michael Cage, television analyst for the Thunder. Matt Pinto, the radio play-by-play voice. So we're going to go top to bottom with the Thunder for you. Day prior to. So you went with DeBarge instead right there. Good. Did you look that up? Did it say this is what's really close to Ready for the World as DeBarge?
I just hit an 80s greatest hits playlist on Spotify, and there it was.
Is that where you got Ready for the World too?
No, I looked that up because I heard you mention it specifically.
DeBarge right there. Yeah, busy show. Kevin Pelton of ESPN was really good a little bit earlier. That podcast is going to be up in 1075thefan.com in full detail. And I did ask him how you try, because like right now, you guys aren't mad at anybody for the Thunder. You're not mad about it at all. And let's just face it, you went into the Bucs series not liking the other team. I don't know what you felt. Maybe you're a bit indifferent about the Cavaliers. But certainly once Donovan Mitchell got going and went to the free throw line 1 million times, you didn't like that, and then you had a certain preconceived notion about the Knicks already established. So this is a little bit different. Maybe not much there, but I'm going to guarantee you after game number 1, you guys are going to be upset because SGA goes to the FTL, the free throw line, an absolute buttload. You think Brunson goes there a lot. You shall wait for this. Substantially going to the free throw line. 8:30 tomorrow night is the tip time. 8 o'clock, your coverage begins here on The Fan. That's going to be a part of me leading up from 3 until 8 tomorrow night. That's going to be a lot of me talking. But that is okay. A lot of me talking, a lot of you talking. Coming up tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. I mentioned Jake is going to be up near Geist in Fishers. That is going to be the location of the Ale Emporium for his watch party with Michelob Ultra Zero coming up tomorrow night. Great destination for you guys to watch the game, too. Greg wanted me to mention this. Hey, JMV, speaking of staff, give a shout-out to a lady named Karen Atkinson. We interned together with the Pacers back in 1996. She was a model intern, and I was a total knucklehead. She's now director of player relations. She walked in as an intern and never left. I've not talked to her forever, but she was awesome, and I'm sure she still is. So shout out to Karen from Greg right there. Player relations with the Pacers. Long period of time right there. A lot of continuity with Pacers sports and entertainment, and certainly with what you see from this team, without question. All right, we're waiting on Michael Cage. Still nothing? Come on, man. Should I go ahead and go? We got a rebound from this, Michael. Let's go. Over 8,000 points and 8,000 rebounds in his NBA career, but so far 0 for 1 calling into this show. 239-1070. Steven's up next. Hello, Steven.
Hey, John. How are you, buddy?
Great, Steven. Go ahead.
Hey, do you remember? We know each other. You were on the stage for me at the IRT a few years ago. Remember that?
I do remember that. Is that when I did that little narration read with the great Charlie Morgan back in the day?
I believe that's true. Back when Charlie Morgan was he was a good Pacer fan, man. Charlie had seats right down there on the baseline. I sat with him and Kelly a few times. One of the good guys.
Yeah, he was always one of my favoriins right there. I think he's in Nashville.
That was your stage debut.
Is he from?
That was your IRT debut.
It was. I can't believe I was in there. In fact, it was awesome to be a part of it.
I asked you because I was the theater guy that was a sports fan.
Sure.
Who listened to talk radio. Hey man, here's my question. Here's my thing. Smoking Goose is awesome. I don't know how Mike Braun knows anything about it because he didn't know much about awesome. But I'm telling you, it is Chris Ely's the guy there. Chris and Molly Ely run this thing. They also have a butcher shop market.
Okay.
At about 25th and Delaware, which is fantastic. Chris Ely can butcher a pig with a knife in his bare hand. Now that's impressive from a guy.
I'll tell you what, man, we get off on cured meats around here, my brother. Let me tell you.
Well, he is the cured processed meat champion, way beyond Central Indiana. His stuff's in shops, and it's for some folks it's fancy stuff. But if you like processed meats, man, I'm going to connect you with him.
Sure, do it.
You need a little box. You need a little box of samples.
I go all protein all. Hey, I tell you what, Steven, I'm going to put you on hold. I want you to hang tight. I want to bring you back in a second because we've got somebody we want to talk to as well right now about the game 1 tomorrow night in the final series between the Pacers and the Thunder. Michael Cage is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, a member of the television network. I mentioned a little bit earlier, over 8,000 points and 8,000 rebounds in what I thought was a fantastic NBA career. He joins us now. Hey, Michael, thank you for the time in Indy. How are you?
I'm good, man. My pleasure.
The last time you were here, besides doing TV, was it down in Bloomington at the '84 Olympic trials? Were you there?
Yeah, I was, man. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. So, yeah, we have great stories about that because I was still in junior high, but my high school in the Bloomington area held its prom at the Memorial Union, and in the yearbook in 1984, there are a bunch of pictures about those players trying out, just kind of walked through that space and started dancing with everybody's dates. It was awesome. It was
pretty
awesome.
Good, man.
Yeah, great time back in the day. Those are some, especially with you and others a part of that, some stories to be told. Speaking of which, if you're going to start at the top of the list of stories to be told about the team that you covered in OKC, what is first on that list, Michael?
Well, just how they've, been built from the ground up. It's really been a pretty special year, obviously, for the Thunder, winning 68 games this year and getting out of the West. That's always a gauntlet every year. But this journey started for this team, a couple of seasons ago. They did it through the draft. They picked up a couple of young players off of trade situations that materialized into, probably really unbelievable surprise as to, how quickly they developed, and then seeing how it all came to fruition this year after coming up short in the second round a season ago, falling to the Dallas Mavericks 4-2. It's really been, not really as much as a surprise as people think, but I've been here for 11 years as their TV analyst, and I've seen how this organization works, how they put everything together, and, really happy for them that they're able to get this young group and put them together, keep them together, and what they've been able to accomplish so far.
He is Michael Cage of the television network for the Oklahoma City Thunder, the former NBAers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. With this whole construction process of Sam Presti, did that hit immediately with fans and media around there, or did it take a lot of proof, which obviously you have now, and if so, how long did that take?
No. It did not. That's my answer to that first question first. Because everybody wants to win now. You know how that works, especially in the NBA at this level. Coaches have very little time. Players, developing short windows. But I will give, and this starts with, they say water leaks from the roof down with Sam Presti. Just saying, look, we're going to take our time. I've done this before. I've had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, all in this same situation when they were young players, and we gave them a lot of runway. And obviously, when you come off some really good years where you have, the Russells and the MVPs like him and Kevin Durant and James Harden, the fan base gets used to winning, and they want to win now, and they don't want to go back through that rebuild, which everybody has to do a hard reset, especially in sports, and that transcends all sports. And that's what Sam Presti did. And he had a plan. He drafted some young players. We call him J-Dub, Jalen Williams. We got 2 Jalen Williams on the team. We drafted him. We drafted Chet Holmgren. He missed his rookie season, and he came back strong in his rookie season last year. We drafted players like Jay Will. We traded for a young Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that turned out to be the gem of a trade for us, 5 seasons ago. So for me, being, a veteran player, I played 15 years in NBA, watching this whole process kind of play out, you just don't see that in professional sports. And, that's what Sam Presti has done throughout his career. And he has rebuilt this team from the ground up, as I mentioned earlier. And they're sitting on solid ground. I mean, they got a chance to be good for a long time. They were good last year, winning 55 games, and they came back. I didn't think they could top that, honestly, maybe with a few more wins, but they came back and won 68 this year, which is, that's historical stuff. So, the plan is working. And did you ever think you'd get to the NBA Finals for the 2025 season? No, we didn't. You didn't think you'd get there this quickly, but they've been on track.
Yeah.
And you're certainly not complaining.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Michael Cage joins us. He's the television analyst for the Thunder. Would you consider the Pacers and the Thunder extremely comparable? Now, obviously, the Thunder play a much better style defensively, or productive style defensively. However, the Pacers are getting better. But it seems in terms of construction and depth and pace of play and what you really want to do, there's a lot of compliments with both of these two teams we're going to see in the finals beginning tomorrow night.
Well, and I think that's what's really going to be exciting about this series, is that they do have similar, approaches to the game on the defensive end with pace, individual defensive players, dynamic players. I think that's what I'm excited about seeing here in Oklahoma City. Game 1 tomorrow night tips off at 7:30 on ABC. Is how that's going to play out, because that everything changes after each game. There's always between game adjustments. I've been in this playoff situation before as well, and to see these two teams that are very dynamic, that are really not on the tip of NBA fans' tongues when you talk about finals. This is what I'm loving, man. You got two small market teams that have just clawed their way all the way into one of the most coveted spots in NBA sports, and that's the finals. That's what I'm excited about. I know it wasn't easy for the Pacers coming up through the Eastern Conference. I'm sure prior to the playoffs, they weren't the playoff favorite to be in the finals in the East. And I know the same thing for the Thunder. Well, they're too young. Well, yeah, they had a great, another great season, but they got a long way to go still. And so we've always answered those questions. I'm sure the Pacers have answered it, and it hasn't always looked pretty. But that's sports, though. I mean, you have a style, you have a system. I know Mark Daigneault, head coach for the Thunder, has a style. He has a system. It's been proven. It's been working, and he's stuck with it all season long with his deep rotation. I've known Rick Carlisle for a long time. We were in that same infamous '84 draft with Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
He's been a proven winner. He has a system. It's been working. It wasn't pretty at times. I remember when we played you guys the first time in Indianapolis, and I believe the Pacers were around, hanging around 50. They were almost. Let's see. I'm trying to be exact, but I'll have to just kind of give you some ballpark numbers. They were hanging around 500.
Yeah,
at the time.
It was a struggle at the beginning of the season for him, for real, Michael. Yeah.
But to show you how coaching matters in this league, how players' performance matters, how teams collectively coming together to push forward for a common denominator, that's what the Pacers did. I mean, the Pacers and the Thunder had the best record after January than any team, of the other 28 teams. I think the Thunder lost, 13 games. The Pacers may have lost 18. So we're talking about how close they are in terms of their approach to the game, how they got there. Hey, man, that's what I'm looking forward to, because I think it's going to be a great series. Like I said, it wasn't easy. It wasn't predicted that the Thunder and the Pacers would be in the finals, but that's the beauty of sports, man. Anything can happen.
He is Michael Cage with us. Before I let you go, how about the dynamic here of both of these teams, where they are now benefiting substantially from the trade of Paul George? That's an amazing stat to me right there because both.
Man, I knew you were going to ask me that question.
Yeah. How's the feeling there?
It's a great question.
I'm curious if it's similar there as it is to here with that appreciation from the fan base.
Well, you know what? I think when the smoke clears, that's what you kind of peel back the layers and say, you know what? This all started from, one trade. How you guys, got Halliburton, how we got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander,
right.
With the Paul George leaving, the Pacers and Paul going to L.A. Clippers in exchange for just finished his rookie year, SGA. So that's really a kind of an anomaly that worked in both teams' favor. I think it worked tremendously for, the Sacramento Kings. You don't think the Sacramento Kings want to have, Tyrese Halliburton back right now? And you don't think the LA Clippers want to have SGA back right now?
Yeah.
So, that's really, that's an amazing stat to me that I go, that's really interesting, but it's also very true how both teams have benefited from the trade of one player.
Yeah, that's certainly we talk about that around here as well. Hey, by the way, I'm assuming by now those in OKC know of your badassery back in your days in the NBA, don't they? Even though they didn't have a franchise back then, do they understand that? Just how bad of a dude you were?
I remind them every now and then. I said, look, okay, let me post this Jerry curl here.
Well, yeah. See, there was so much more than that. I mean, I referenced a little bit earlier, like "Ready for the World" or something like that. But there was more than just the activator we're talking about here. You were enjoyable. And here's what occurred to me about your career: that is essentially just hard ass work. Seriously, and I was in high school at the time when you were playing at your highest level, and it all came down to that hard level of work and always trying to overcome and always trying to raise the bar. So that's the type of player I felt you were.
That's how my career went. I was fortunate that I was able to, at one time lead the NBA in rebounding, but I was a hard hat guy. I just showed up with my hard hat on, rolled up my sleeves, lunch pail in my hand. I put a lot of guys in the All-Star game, put a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame, and that was good enough for me. So I was happy that I was there and I was around and I was able to have a long, healthy career, and got a chance to play with some great ex-Pacers like my man Derek McKee.
Yep.
I played with him for 3 years in Seattle. He's still my man. I know he lives there in Indianapolis. Big shout out to him. And when I look back at it, I say, hey, you know what? I had a great career in terms of staying healthy, played with some good ball clubs and some really good people. And I just mentioned one of them right there.
That's Michael Cage. You can catch him. He's a part of the OKC television network, of course. And the former NBAers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. More than a pleasure having you on this show today, Michael. Thanks for carving out a spot for us on this particular afternoon, and enjoy the NBA Finals starting with Game 1 tomorrow night.
Thank you, guys. You as well.
It's Michael Cage on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. He was a bad dude back in the day. Matt Pinto, it's weird, right? So Michael Cage, once upon a time, played for what the Thunder used to be, the Seattle Supersonics, and Matt Pinto used to be a part of the Sonics. He made the transition from Seattle to OKC. The play-by-play voice of the Thunder set to join us coming up next. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Pow. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Man, I was really digging the conversation with Michael Cage. OKC Television Network, podcast 1075thefan.com. This is Dispatch. Dispatch and John Butler coming up. Everwise Amphitheater later on this month. Who wants to go? Who is up to go see this at 239-1070? I have tickets for you. Number 9 at 239-1070 for Dispatch. That movie. What? I better not say what I'm about to say. That sounds like one hell of a great show. Dispatch, John Butler, Everwise, number 9 at 239. 1070 is the winner. Matt Pinto, the longtime voice of OKC, is going to join us coming up in a couple of minutes. Big show coming up tomorrow. Actually, a 5-hour tour for us tomorrow. I'll explain before I bail out of here. Yeah, I know. So I saw my friend Jimi Hendrix of Live Nation said, hey, I know you're on the air right now, but would you like to talk to Adam Duritz of the Counting Crows sometime? And, of course, I would, because once upon a time I urinated right next to him in the bathroom of the Viper Room in Hollywood. A random Tuesday night at the Viper Room in Hollywood, I think 1993 or 94. We're in the stand-up urinals together, and I think I remarked that there was a lot of cocaine usage going on in there, and he says, well, it's a Viper Room, and that was about it. I believe the band L7, you guys remember the band L7? Was up on stage. So, yes, rekindling the old bathroom stories with Adam Duritz will be fantastic. Is Matt ready? Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Right now, he's the voice of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Game 1 of the NBA Finals tomorrow night, local time, 8:30 the tip. 8 o'clock coverage begins on the Pacers Radio Network right here. Matt Pinto joins us now. So I just had a conversation with Michael Cage, which was awesome. So you're going to have a lot to live up to, Matt, right now. I hope I didn't set the bar too high for you.
I'm a better shooter, much worse rebounder than
That is so well put right there. It is. I asked him this, and he thought about it for a moment, and then he did mention depth. But if I were going to ask you some of the similarities between these two teams that meet in the finals beginning tomorrow night for game number 1, where would you begin?
They're both relentless, but in very different ways. The Pacers primarily do that with their offense. The Thunder do it with their defense primarily. But I think, honestly, John, in this series, the opposite side of the ball is being undersold for both. I mean, Indiana's been really good defensively since, mid-January?
Yep.
And the Thunder offense is just overlooked because their defense has been so hellacious in forcing turnovers and getting out in transition. So I think that this series could swing when the Thunder have the ball against the Indiana defense and to see how that matchup goes. Because I think the Thunder are being undersold offensively and the Pacers undersold defensively.
Yeah, well, and the Thunder, you take away anything from the December regular season meeting here or the March regular season meeting in OKC at all that translates to this series?
I think, Shea's a bear to deal with. Everyone knows that. And he was for the Pacers to deal with his size. But Nesmith missed one of those games. I assume Nesmith will be a primary defender against him in this series. So not a ton there. The other things that, we know nothing about is how Chet Holmgren's game will translate against Indiana. He didn't play in either of those games. Isaiah Hartenstein missed the second half of the game in Oklahoma City. So a lot of the Thunder personnel, Caruso played in only one of the two games, that is pretty prominent, didn't get much of a look at all against the Pacers in the two regular season meetings. And that's why when you see a team twice, you really can't grab a whole lot and feel like, well, that sticks definitively in a best-of-7 series because you've got two excellent head coaches, and it's going to be very different when the opposition is put under the microscope and really attacked with the proposed strengths of either team in a best-of-7. So I'm really looking forward to this series. I think
from a pure basketball standpoint,
Yes.
I think this is about as good as it gets in the NBA right now.
Well, here's what's funny, and I should not consider any of this jackassery, Matt, yet I find myself being compelled to address it. When I hear I need spotlight, large market, elite level talents, A, the MVP's playing in these matchups, and B, here's the difference between those that love real team-oriented basketball and jackasses that look at this like it's reality TV. That is the difference to real basketball fans, which will love this matchup, and those that are just there for names and to talk about it in passing, and that's that. This is a perfect series for real team-oriented basketball fans.
Yeah, and in two markets, I think that really appreciate that. Both blue collar, both value what the game to its essence are all about. And these two teams pattern themselves along those lines. So I couldn't agree more. I think that, for any of us that truly love the game and love the nuances of the game, this is going to be one for the ages potentially. I can't wait to get it going tomorrow.
Is Matt Pinto, the voice of OKC on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You mentioned defense with the Thunder. Lou Dort, let's just say he's the most valuable defender. But as of right now, is Alex Caruso the best defender considering how they're utilizing him in the postseason?
Well, one of the things in the numerous ways in the run-up to this series that I think those of us that do play-by-play, Mark Boyle on your side, me on our side in terms of the radio call, you dive into all the numbers. And one of the ones that really stuck out was the Thunder have 7 of the top 10 defensive-rated players in the playoffs. Numbers 1 and 2 are off the bench in Casey Wallace and Alex Caruso. So, Caruso's impact is so wide-based because of his acumen, his IQ, the way he leverages matchups, the way he understands angles. I mean, he's just really a savant on that side of the ball. And Tyrese Halliburton spoke about him in those terms at the podium earlier today. So I think the thing that Thunder have had to their advantage in putting up historic defensive numbers they have is the depth that they bring on the perimeter at the point of attack. It's not just Dort's physicality. It's not just the width and the length of a J-Dub when he's switched on to players on the perimeter, but it's the depth off the bench in Casey Wallace and Alex Caruso that really, I think, wear teams down over the course of a 48-minute game.
Well, I want to talk about that depth a little bit more in depth, if you will. I've noticed recently Isaiah Joe's not received too much clock. Jalen Williams maybe not too much. And I know this is probably matchup resulted from series to series. Will we see the same, rotationally speaking, or do you expect some differences in this matchup with the Pacers?
Yeah, my hunch is this is going to be more a small ball series. Honestly, I think both teams are adept playing smaller, and I suspect in critical junctures we're going to see more of that. I think if it becomes a small ball series, there may be more of a role for Joe. But I think, Isaiah, if he can strike the match and come out and be the instant offense shooter that he's shown the capacity to be in the past, becomes a real asset. But if he comes out and misses a few, the floor's being spaced a certain way, the Thunder being guarded in a way to hedge so they don't get downhill, then Isaiah's viewed to knock down those shots. And if that's not happening, I think you owe it to your team and the depth on this roster to quickly shift and move on in a direction you feel like is going to favor you. So I think the great thing about the Thunder head coach, I think Carlisle's like this as well, he's not fixated on anything. I think he's very adaptable. This roster is pliable in so many different ways, and he's very willing to roll the dice and go different directions depending on how the flow of the game's going.
You think at all that Isaiah Hartenstein's minutes, do they get viewed under the microscope if it is more, as you mentioned, a small ball series?
I would think so. And Isaiah's impact in the Western Conference Finals became diminished over time for a similar reason. Rudy Gobert couldn't stay on the court against the Thunder for obvious reasons. And so when they went to Naz Reid, a perimeter shooting big man, things sort of evolved in Chet Holmgren playing more 5, Hartenstein playing less minutes. But I think there are two sides to that coin. The other is the Pacers have been a little bit susceptible to good offensive rebounding teams, and if the Thunder can hit them hard with the hammer that way when Hartenstein's on the floor, maybe it becomes more of a strength against a perceived weakness scenario. So I'm going to be curious because, as I said, I think both coaches have a whole lot of different levers to pull if they choose to, and we'll see the way this thing unfolds strategically.
He is Matt Pinto, the voice of the Thunder. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline tomorrow night, game number 1 of the NBA Finals. You can catch that right here on The Fan. When did OKC fans, and I guess the media to a degree, but we'll stick with the fan base right here, when did they say, you know what, this whole Sam Presti evil genius idea, it is really going to work, it is really happening? When did they accept that finally with this thing going the right direction?
Yeah, I think it's a hard question, and it's a hard question because this team's not been in the league as long as the Pacers have, since moving over from a long-running tradition of seeing different iterations and going through the tough times, which most fan bases do in pro sports. So, I mean, the Thunder have had 6, potentially, if Shea elevates his game and stays consistent, 7 Hall of Fame players in 17 years in Oklahoma City. They've seen a team that's been now to 5 Western Conference Finals and been to 2 NBA Finals. So for a team as young as they are, that's just unheard of in terms of success level. I think that they've had faith in Sam, and when Sam decided a few years ago, 4 years back now, to make the pivot away from Chris Paul, who was at the time obviously an anchor on a team that got to the playoffs, moving away from Danilo Gallinari, making some other moves where he really leaned into Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, Kenrich Williams is part of that shift as well. He decided, I'm doing it through the draft, and we're going to do it in a way that sustains us as a championship contender. So I don't know how long it's going to take. We've got to hit on some picks. We've got to make right choices, and hopefully it all comes together. And I think it's come together much more quickly than even Sam would have envisioned. And I think the fan base, because they've seen the success over time, had trust and faith in him. But I don't think anybody could have imagined or envisioned it happening this quickly.
See, both of these teams, Matt, as you well know, are beneath the luxury tax. It's the first time that's ever happened. And obviously, we consider in the offseason the Pacers going into an apron of the luxury tax. What about the Thunder? How are they built? Because I'm thinking all these dudes that are young and have been drafted at some point are going to be, up for extensions. How is that, as an end result, going to end up being handled here?
Yeah, I don't know the inner workings and how that's viewed. I know that they have 3 pretty special high-level talents that they believe could be perennial all-stars in Shea, Jalen Williams, J-Dub, and Chet Holmgren. So if that's the core, then roles fall in line behind them in a tiered way. I'm guessing based on the modern economics of the NBA game. So that's my assumption. It's not anything I'm hearing from the organization itself. I think the hedge that's in place for the Thunder is the number of players they have in the offing in the future through the draft. They've got a lot of draft capital. So if they choose to use that, and it means that some guys sort of are moved out based on being overpriced for what their value is or their replaceability is, then the Thunder have set themselves up in a market that doesn't allow for what a New York or a Boston or an LA or a Chicago does. So, I mean, that's how I view it long term. I don't know how that's going to translate, though, in terms of personnel. I do know Sam is all about the immediate looking to the future. He never ignores what the ramifications will be longer term than just the immediate time we're talking about.
So Matt Pinto, who is the voice of the Thunder on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I think the other thing that jumps off the page in comparison with these two teams is the camaraderie, the cohesion, the connection that they have from player to player on this roster, both on and off the floor. And I know how real it is with this Pacer group here, and I see it in post-game interviews on how it looks with the Thunder. Is it as real off the floor as it is on the floor in comparison to what we talk about here with the Pacers?
Yeah, I've been blessed, John, to be doing this for 35 years, half of them with the Thunder since the move from Seattle. I've never seen anything like it. A team as young as this is, as mature as it is, understanding what it takes to win games at a high level, challenging themselves to play, compete against, and beat the best, competing as hard as they do every possession, cheering one another on without any agenda about volume of shots or who's taking shots or who's scoring or who's doing the things that are translating that night into wins. They're all for one another. And it sounds incredibly cliche and almost like unbelievable, but this is as close to a Camelot situation in the NBA as I've ever witnessed, because these guys are agendaless and I can go through a number of guys that I've encountered in my past as a broadcaster that immediately gravitate, where's the box score during timeouts? Like, what are my numbers? These guys never think about that. They never are looking at a box score. They're all about what the only criteria that matters says, and that's the scoreboard. So I see the same things in the Pacers. That's part of the reason I'm so excited about this series, and I'm hopeful that once we get into it, fans that are not yet engaged will be, because they're going to be missing something pretty special if they're not.
You know, it's funny you say it that way, because this is my favorite team around here, not just the Pacers, but any team around here that I've ever been around, because of what you just described right there. It matters about winning. It is team orientation. And let's just face it, Matt, I mean, you see this on a night-in, night-out basis. This is very unlike what you normally see, not just in the NBA, but in professional sports, let's say, in general.
Well, and it's understandable. I mean, the human nature aspects of the modern athlete in the NBA is they go through a process of beginning to believe they're the best thing going. And so that reflects in bling, that reflects in my next contract and going for the big dollars. And if you're not getting the shot volume you feel like is going to get you there, or the playing time, or the role that you desire, it creates some internal issues. These guys haven't been about that at all, and it's just incredible to see. Now, I've got to go back to Sam Presti and making the people choices he's made, not just the versatility, not just the length and athleticism and what they bring on the court, but who they are as people, the character they have, the understanding for what it takes to be successful as a team, as a unit, because that building process has been seamless, it seems like, in this group. It's phenomenal. And then he goes out and gets Alex Caruso through trade. He fit in without any wrinkles, and Isaiah Hartenstein via free agency, the same. Both guys feel as if they've been here for years, where they had to acclimate themselves to the system, but because they are system-based themselves, the way they play, it's worked beautifully. So, and I thought Rick Carlisle made a great point today on the podium, John, when he talked about how impressive Sam is, but how impressive Kevin Pritchard is as well in building out a roster and understanding what it takes. It's really been fun to watch both evolve and develop, and I think both have flown under the radar for whatever reason, and I think it's market size and some of the other nonsense you mentioned off the top in the way you laid out the jackassery that exists in our media right now.
Dude, the fact that you just utilized my word, I'm proud, Matt. That is well done. By the way, the jackassery that I have to hear about how these aren't destination locations, my retort always is, if you want to be a part of a great team that's about winning, that is at the roots and what we all love about basketball, this is your basketball destination location. And both, I think, are considered in the same light, both OKC and Indy.
Yeah, well said. And one of the things that really strikes me that I saw recently is Rick Pitino, a collegiate coaching legend, basically saying he never uses NBA tape or video to teach to his collegiate student, quote unquote student athletes, but he did a bunch with the Thunder defense. In getting his team at St. John's ready this season because of how fundamentally sound they were in their help side defense and the way that they hedge, the way that they attack, the way that they compete. So that reflects exactly what you're saying. And, Indiana, in just doing the homework and the prep for this series, it's like I've said all season, the Thunder defense is real. It travels. It doesn't matter who they're playing. The same can be said about the Indiana offense. In the pace that they play, the quickness, the ball movement, it's almost unguardable when they're clicking on all cylinders.
I say this all the time. It's about dictation of terms, and we'll see what happens coming up tomorrow night in game number 1. And on the call with the OKC Thunder, their voice, Matt Pinto, is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Fantastic conversation, Matt. I appreciate you very much. Have a great series call. Thanks for jumping on here today.
Enjoyed it, John. My pleasure. Take care.
Matt Pinto on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Even rocked jackassery for everybody here. That makes me proud. That is one proud moment right here on this show. Back with you next.
Ride with JMV.
Son, you got a panty on your head. You drive fast, eh?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, your Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. Logan Walker was the winner. The winning horse was Vettel. Paid out $5.20 on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta payout, $10.60. 50-cent trifecta, $16.45. We do this Wednesday through Friday every week. The Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. 50-51 in betting and dining from Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. Standard bred racing going on now. You got that right. Through November. Tony Wren to the gang, shout out the Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. Man, what a fantastic afternoon. Michael Cage, Matt Pinto, Kevin Pelton also a little bit earlier as well. Evan Sherrill was in studio. It has been rocking. And our guy Jason Logan from covers.com a little bit earlier too. Hey, 5 hours tomorrow, 3 until 8. I blank you not. 3 until 8 tomorrow. We're going to lead you up to coverage on the Pacers Radio Network at 8 o'clock. Probably me and Jake Query a little bit, maybe Bowen a little bit, maybe Rickard a little bit, maybe Boyd a little bit. A lot of yip-yapping going on before game number 1 of the NBA Finals coming up tomorrow night. I'll tell you what, everybody on hold right here. I think Doug wants, does he want a yes sir shirt? Tell Doug that I'll give him a yes sir shirt. We'll make sure. I think there's one back here, isn't there? I don't think I've taken those home yet. Jerome and Ike, you guys call in first tomorrow, and I will get you on the air because I think we got a bail right now. My apologies for that. But Jerome and Ike on the show tomorrow, I cannot wait to talk to you because we're going to be on the doorstep of game number 1 of the NBA Finals. After 25 years, it is back. Beginning tomorrow. We've got a lot of fun for you coming up, not just tomorrow, but the week throughout. I'll explain on tomorrow's show. Again, Matt Pinto, Michael Cage, Kevin Pelton, Jason Logan, Evan Sherrill. Podcast 1075thefan.com. James, great job out of you. I'm going to go hoop a little bit. I'll be back here for 5 hours of coverage you will not want to miss tomorrow at 3. Have a great night.